Dragon and the space station now passing over Greece, getting good confirmation, good words from Paolo Nespoli, relaying the information he's seeing from this workstation that you're seeing right now. The Cuckoo relaying telemetry data that's taking a look at Dragon as it approaches the International Space Station right now, currently holding at the 30-meter holding point here in Mission Control Houston, getting ready to assess the departure of that 30-meter holding point, getting into capture position. That capture time is, again, we are still running a bit ahead of schedule. Everything looking nominal through the procedures as the flight controllers are going through them today. Looking at a capture time of 5:53 a.m. Central Time. The International Space Station now over the Middle East, actually just passing over the northern border of Turkey, over the Black Sea right now. We're expecting that the International Space Station and Dragon will be in an orbital sunset at time of capture. Video communications that are being relayed from the International Space Station. Those cameras now switching satellites. You'll see a small gap in video communications here now, just for a few seconds, perhaps a few minutes, and also once again in a couple more minutes for a longer period of time. Just nominal operations, just the what's called KU, the video signal, just a short gap in communications there. What you were seeing beforehand, the view was a view from the SSRMS, or what we call the robotic arm. Robotic arm was in motion, getting a better position to view the Dragon capsule. Dragon sitting at about 30 meters away from the International Space Station now. Looks like we're gaining some telemetry. Once it stabilizes, we'll cut to that for you. In just a few minutes here, the ground control, the flight controllers here at Mission Control Houston will assess whether or not to depart that 30-meter holding point where Dragon sits right now. Then they'll relay information up to the International Space Station that they have begun movement towards the capture position. Again, Jack Fisher and Paolo Nespoli aboard the International Space Station inside the cupola. In their hands are the controls of the robotic arm, getting ready to capture Dragon today. We're looking at a capture time again of 5:53 a.m. Central Time. Dragon sitting at about 30 meters away from the International Space Station, carrying about 3 tons of scientific experiments and research and supplies. And we went through a couple of them today.
One SSRMS is in the high over position.
Thanks, Paolo. We copy SSRMS in high hover position.
Confirmation from aboard the International Space Station, what's called the SSRMS, as Paolo Nespoli described. That's the station's robotic arm, is in position. Everything's set to depart the 30-meter holding point. Flight controllers here now going around the room, assessing whether or not to depart that 30 meters. That will be relayed to the International Space Station here shortly.
Houston Station on 2 for Dragon capture.
Go ahead, Paolo.
We are complete with step 3.3, and the crew is ready for Dragon approach to capture point.
Copy that, Paolo. We'd like to ask you to put the brakes on SSRMS, please.
The brakes are on.
Thanks. Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Dragon.
Go ahead for Dragon.
All right, Dragon is ready to proceed to the capture point. You can expect approach to resume shortly.
Station copy, thanks.
That was Capcom Andreas Mogensen here in Mission Control Houston, relaying that the Dragon capsule will be departing the 30-meter holding point shortly, heading towards the capture position about 10 or so meters away from the International Space Station. Sitting next to him was Flight Director Mary Lawrence, leading the teams here today.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Dragon.
And for Dragon?
All right, Dragon has begun its approach from 30 meters, and you are go to monitor per step 5 in 1.102.
Just step 5 in 1.102 is in work.
You can see Dragon departing the 30-meter holding point, now heading towards the capture position. Just a few meters away from the International Space Station, about 10, 12, give or take a few meters away. Now losing some video communications here. That was done before the command to depart the 30-meter holding point was done before losing communications here. We'll regain communications here in just a few minutes. In the meantime, Dragon on its way to the captured position, Paolo Nespoli and Jack Fisher and the International Space Station at the controls of the robotic arm.
For corridor monitoring, on step 5, we see the mode and prior range decreasing. Current prior is 2876, current secondary is 2884. And we do see the light within the corridor. Vehicle size is nominal relative to the outline, and light offset is half and half starboard on both monitors.
Thanks, Paolo. That's all good data.
CCP lens configuration is nominal.
Copy, thanks.
As the view of Dragon was lost as it just temporarily as we were switching over communications, Paolo Nespoli relaying good information, everything looking nominal as Dragon approached the International Space Station towards that capture position, just a few meters away from the International Space Station, about 10, 12, give or take a few meters. Dragon now resuming its approach. Now just about to cross the 27-meter mark towards that capture position, carrying 6,000 pounds of supplies, experiments, and hardware aboard. It may be difficult to tell, but Dragon is slowly making its way towards the International Space Station at a rate of about 0.02 meters per second. Now approaching the capture position, which is about 10 to 12 meters away from the International Space Station. Again, about 3 tons, actually 6,400 pounds of experiment supplies and hardware aboard. We've talked about some of the experiments aboard. Another one is an experiment called lung tissue. The experiment will actually take a look at stem cells that have been recellularized to become lung tissue, just to see how that stem cell turns into lung tissue in microgravity and how those cells are characterized, and studying that framework. Once on board, the tissue has the ability to mimic the lung tissue and have the potential for testing drugs or chemical toxicity by biotechnology or pharmaceuticals aboard. Again, many experiments aboard, some with stem cells. We have microsatellites, investigations looking at protein crystals to help with Parkinson's disease, as well as experiments studying the fascinating parts of the universe. One in particular, CREAM, taking a look at cosmic rays. Lots of experiments aboard the International Space Station almost soon. Capture time still towards 5:53 a.m. Central Time today. Dragon is just 22 meters away from the station, approaching its capture position about 10 or 12 meters away from the International Space Station. You're now seeing both the ISS and Dragon about to enter an orbital sunset. ISS and Dragon now on the eastern coast of China, about to pass over the East China Sea just south of Japan into an orbital nighttime. We're expecting that the capture today will occur during that orbital nighttime.
Houston Station on 2 for Dragon, prior range 20 meters, secondary 2015, and no change on the corridor monitoring, and actually I would say converging.
Thanks, Paolo. We copy all that. Sounds good.
Paolo Nespoli from aboard the International Space Station. Again, he's at the controls of the station's robotic arm next to Jack Fisher, relaying that the telemetry from the Dragon is looking good. The two are prepared with the station's robotic arm to capture the Dragon once it arrives at the capture position, and they receive the go from teams here on the ground. The last of the sunlight illuminating Dragon and station as it passes over the East China Sea, just south of Japan, into orbital nighttime, 250 miles above the Earth, traveling 17,500 miles per hour. Again, the last of the sunlight illuminating Dragon and the International Space Station, both over the Philippine Sea now on a southeasterly course down the Pacific Ocean right now. Dragon just crossed the 16-meter mark away from the International Space Station, approaching the capture position about 10 or 12 meters away from the International Space Station. Again, once in position, the Jack Fisher and will use the controls next to Paolo Nespoli, who's relaying the information down here to the ground to move the station's robotic arm into position and capture the Dragon and the 3 tons of cargo aboard.
And BB range is prime 1486, secondary 1490, and nominal on the corridor monitoring.
Thanks, Paolo. We copy.
You can see Dragon still closing in on that capture position, slowly but surely. Station's robotic arm poised, ready for capture as the Dragon approaches the capture position. Now almost about 13 meters away from the International Space Station. The lights from Dragon starting to illuminate as the sun sets on the station, as the station and Dragon are over the Philippine Sea, now in an orbital nighttime.
Station Houston on space to ground 2 for Dragon.
Go ahead for Dragon.
All right, you can confirm capture point hold per step 6 and 1.102.
As you copy, we see PV mode CP hold. Prime range is 10.79er, secondary 10.80, and CCP LED config is nominal.
We copy, thank you.
Paolo Nespoli from the cupola aboard the International Space Station, confirming that Dragon is holding at its capture position, just about 10.8 meters away from the International Space Station. Now positioned, flight controllers will assess whether or not to capture the Dragon. About to go around and do a go, no-go.
Step 6, we are ready. Let's say the capture condition is confirmed and we are ready for Dragon capture.
Thanks, Paolo. We copy. Please stand by for capture.
Roger, copy, standing by.
Ground teams assessing whether or not to go or no go for the capture of Dragon today. We're aiming for 5:53 a.m. Central Time. However, we will continue to update you as to the updating capture time this morning. Once Jack Fisher uses the station's controls, him working with Paolo Nespoli aboard the International Space Station, uses the controls for the robotic arm to move towards SpaceX's Dragon to capture the cargo vehicle. We'll be relaying some telemetry data as it comes in, how far it is away from the capture position, whether it's over the pin, and when the snares are grappled, then read the official capture time to you. Again, Jack Fisher and Paolo Nespoli in the cupola now at the workstation, using the station's controls to capture Dragon here shortly.
Station Houston on 2 for Dragon.
That's for Dragon.
All right, we have a go for capture sequence, and you have a go to perform step 4 in 1.110 Dragon capture. And at this point, please begin monitoring the backaway cue card.
Roger, copy. We'll start procedure 1.110 step 4, monitoring the backaway cue card.
flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston are go. Flight controllers in Hawthorne, California at SpaceX's Mission Control Center are also go, relaying information to Paolo Nespoli and Jack Fisher aboard the International Space Station. They are also go to move the station's robotic arm and capture Dragon. Now working through the procedures to move the station's robotic arm into position. The Dragon, now currently holding at its capture position, will start seeing the view from here, from the end of the station's robotic arm. There's a camera here. We'll start to see that get closer and closer as Jack Fisher uses the controls to move the station's robotic arm into its capture position on the SpaceX Dragon, that little triangle you see there, that metal disc in the middle.
So they have now made final preparations. The systems on the Dragon and the station are ready for capture. They've measured the exact position of the Dragon and made sure that it is actually perfectly or almost perfectly still in relation to the ISS, so they can safely capture it and berth it towards the ISS. The actual installation on the docking port will take place a few hours later. In between that, NASA TV will be showing some info on the solar eclipse. However, if you stay here, I'll be switching then to the ISS livestream where you can still see the Dragon and the robotic arm. So I'll keep covering the Dragon and ISS during the whole procedure until berthing and installation. The installation at the docking port was originally scheduled 1.5 hours after the initial grappling. However, now with the grappling having moved up, the grappling has happened about an hour early, or is about to happen an hour early, so I don't know precisely.
Expecting to see the station's robotic arm move here shortly. Dragon holding at about 11.3 meters away from the International Space Station.
I don't know precisely if the installation will actually also move up an hour together with the grappling, or if the installation will still be at the same time. So about 1.5 to 2.5 hours after the grappling, the Dragon will be installed on the docking node.
Use the station and 2 for Dragon capture. We are at the end of step 4.2, proceeding with capture.
Copy, Paolo.
Station's robotic arm now in motion, getting ready to capture the Dragon here shortly. Four meters away from capture. 3 meters from capture. Dragon holding at about 11.4 meters away from station.
And we can see the robotic arm moving, although rather slowly, about to grapple the Dragon any minute now. Now the robotic arm is actually manually controlled, although with
2
some
meters from
software
capture.
help, but it's not a fully automatic thing. There's actually an astronaut inside the space station who is controlling the robotic arm over a computer and a camera and a software system. The Dragon will first just be grappled by this arm. You can see the hand now moving in on the Dragon, and there's this metal disc with the 3 small metal rods basically joining together, and that's basically a hand grip designed for
1.5 meters, everything looking good so far.
And 2 hours later it will then be pulled in towards the actual docking part on the Harmony node.
One meter away.
And you can now also see above the hand grip there is this aiming indicator, which is actually a 3-dimensional object, a bit like the docking alignment indicator on the Soyuz. It's there as a last resort if all digital navigation fails. This just works optically. It's a 3-dimensional object that you can see if you're aligned and if you're in the crosshairs. We're now at essentially the very last hold, the robotic arm just centimeters away from the grip, and doing some final alignments before it will then move forward and grab the Dragon in a few seconds.
Over the pin. Trigger.
The robotic arm now grabbing. It is now in position. Trigger and the radio chatter indicating that the button has been pressed for the robotic hand.
And that is confirmed capture 5:52 a.m. Central Time, just north over New Zealand, over the Pacific Ocean. And again, 5:52 a.m. Central Time.
And we have successful capture of the Dragon CRS-12 resupply ship. Now, as the hand was moving in, you could actually see the pin being 3-dimensional, so you can not only see if your the center of your camera screen, the crosshairs on your camera screen, line up with the crosshair painted on the Dragon, but you can also see if you're properly aligned with the Dragon in terms of position, because that 3-dimensional pin that's standing out from the crosshair on the Dragon, if you're perfectly aligned, you're just in line with that pin and it should look like one dot, and if you're not perfectly aligned, you'll see it as a line as you're seeing it a bit from the side.
Station on 2 for 1.110 Dragon capture. Capture complete. Go for post-capture reconfiguration.
Thanks, Nice work. Congratulations on a job well done. You guys have just won yourself some fresh food.
It sounds like a plan. And Houston, I really love the honor of being able to catch a cargo vehicle because of what it represents. Today has special significance because SpaceX-12 is the last flight on the original cargo resupply contract, and this, the 36th flight of a Dragon, stands as a testament to a burgeoning commercial industry that has become a pillar support to NASA's, heck, all of humanity's quest to explore the universe. It also represents yet another shining example of international cooperation in the storied legacy of the International Space Station. For example, in Dragon's trunk, it carries a cosmic ray energetics and mass experiment that will investigate cosmic ray origins and properties. This ambitious experiment is an international collaboration involving partners from the U.S., Korea, Mexico, and France, and that is only the tip of the iceberg. Aboard this wonderful Dragon awaits 6,400 pounds of cargo, mostly science, that will investigate everything from nanotechnology to the growth of lung tissue to a protein crystal experiment investigating Parkinson's disease, and many, many more. Thanks to our incredibly talented and professional worldwide team that provides the resources, monitors systems, and orchestrates our activities on board, we will be able to conduct more than 250 experiments over expeditions 52 and 53 with the science this Dragon holds in its belly. The crew stands ready to rock the science like a boss, standing aside our amazing ground team of scientists, engineers, and support personnel. With that, we need to get back to work. We got a Dragon to unload.
Well said, Two Fish.
Some congratulatory words from aboard. Again, Jack Fisher at the controls for the station's robotic arm used to capture the Dragon today. That capture time, 5:52 a.m. Central Time over the Pacific Ocean, just north off the coast of New Zealand. Some congratulatory words from Jack Fisher. Looking forward to unloading those 6,400 pounds of cargo, including science experiments, hardware, and other supplies aboard, including what Capcom Andreas Mogensen alluded to, some fresh food aboard the SpaceX cargo vehicle today. Again, that capture time, 5:52 a.m. Central Time, grabbed by Jack Fisher aboard the International Space Station, working with Paolo Nespoli in the Cupola workstation after launching just 2 days ago on Monday, August 14th at 11:31 a.m. Central Time. Again, capture at 5:52 a.m. Central Time today, August 16th. That'll wrap up our coverage of grapple operations for the commercial resupply mission 12 of SpaceX's Dragon cargo vehicle. We plan to come back on the air at 7:30 a.m. Central Time today to cover the installation of the CRS-12 SpaceX Dragon to berth to the International Space Station on the Nader port, the Earth-facing side of the Harmony module. That may come early as the operations today hint at. We captured the Dragon just a little bit ahead of schedule today. We may come on the air early, but again, we're aiming for coming back on the air 7:30 a.m. Central Time to give you coverage of installation. Capture today, 5:52 a.m. Central Time, of the SpaceX Dragon on its commercial resupply mission 12. That'll do it for us here. This is Mission Control Houston.
So with that, the official NASA TV broadcast has ended for now. It will be back on air in about 2 hours. although it's not exactly certain yet, depending on if the installation will also move ahead together with the grappling or not. Now if you go to NASA TV, they'll be showing a report on the upcoming solar eclipse in between the grappling and the installation of the Dragon spacecraft. However, I'll let this running so you can see any progress to the Dragon and see footage from the ISS and the ISS tracker as the Dragon is prepared for installation. And I'll stay here and answer any questions and also keep watch when the actual installation is going to happen. Keep updated about if the installation will also be moved ahead or not, and switch back to NASA TV as soon as the installation coverage